Too many people are looking for the perfect church. Now let me tell you the reason you haven't found the perfect church. The reason you haven't found the perfect church is because when you walk through the doors, you're in it. And you're not perfect. And neither is anybody else in that church. Perfection is an ongoing process. It's referred to in the Bible as conversion. And actually it's not completed until, the day you die, actually. And even then it's not really completed. It's more complete at the resurrection when this body is changed from flesh to spirit. That's real conversion, when you're given a sinless nature, no longer capable of sinning. That's real conversion right there. But it's an ongoing process. It's an ongoing process. And that's the reason you haven't found the perfect church. Now, a lot of people are amazed to find out that the first commanded assembling of people together is found some 2,000 years later. You go to the book of Genesis, and you have to ask, where did Adam and Eve go to church at? And finally, in the book of Exodus, Exodus 12 and verse 16, it says this, and in the first day there shall be a holy convocation. And actually, this was not even a church service. It was one of God's holy days, referred to as the day of unleavened bread, the first day of unleavened bread. So we have 2,000 years in history go by before we have the first commanded church service assembling of people together. Now, a lot of people find that interesting because they think, okay, what did they do for the first 2,000 years? Well, they had the Sabbath day. They had the seventh day of the week, the Sabbath day, which was a day of connectivity with God and disconnect with all of your cares and problems of the world, a day to disconnect and to connect with God. Now, I have found that a lot of people are addicted to going to church. Their religion begins at 11 and it ends at 12 noon. And it's like, oh, I got to go to church. If I don't go to church, I don't even have a relationship with God. They are addicted to going to church. I must go to church to worship. That's the biggest illusion out there, that I must go to church to worship God. Man, life is too short for a 45-minute worship service. If that's all you're worshiping God, then you've got a problem. You've got a major, major problem. But this little concept is nothing new. Let's take a look at it, at what a woman said to Jesus in John 4 and verse 20. She said, "Our father worshiped in this mountain, and you say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship." Now here's the concept. I got to go to a place. I got to go to a building. I got to go to a church. And the concept is valid because in the Old Testament you had the temple and you had, the tabernacle before that. And so the idea of going to a specific place of worship, I got to get to church. I got to get to the synagogue. I got to get to a building to worship God. Hey, it's nothing new under the sun, but let's notice what Jesus said here. Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when you shall neither in this mountain nor yet at Jerusalem worship the Father." Uh-oh, what's he talking about? Well, let's continue on. "But the hour is coming, and now is," notice this, "now is when the true worshiper," we got something called a true worshiper here, "shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeks such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth." So to be a true worshiper of God, there's two things you got to have. You got to have the Spirit of God, and that's another message, by the way, that you'll get pretty soon here, how to receive the Spirit of God. But you got to have the Spirit of God dwelling in you, and you got to have something called truth.